Hey, good evening. Welcome to this evening's special meeting council for the 2026 budget. Bienvenue à notre réunion de conseil spécial pour le budget 2027. We will open with the land acknowledgement and I will pass the floor to Councillor Fetter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Je souhaite prendre un moment pour souligner l'importance du territoire sur lequel nous sommes rassemblés. La municipalité de Nipissing-Ouest reconnaît avec respect que nous sommes réunis sur les terres ancestrales du peuple Anishinaabe, sur les territoires traditionnels des Premières Nations Nipissing, Mangalu et Dokis, désignés par le traité Robinson-Huron. Nous honorons leur lien historique avec le territoire et nous valorisons leur contribution considérable au façonnement, au renforcement de nos communautés. Ce faisant, nous réaffirmons notre engagement et notre responsabilité envers la réconciliation et l'amélioration de notre compréhension des peuples autochtones locaux et de leur culture.
Merci. Next, I'll take declarations of pecuniary interest. Councillor Nicol.
As there on the fire and emergency portion of.
Thank you. You filed the appropriate paperwork. Any other declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none?
Yes.
Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Restool. Be it resolved that the agenda for the special meeting of council held on December the 4th, 2025 be adopted and presented.
All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next, we move on to new business, which is kind of new business continued. And we will proceed where we left off last night with our staff budget presentation. We're going to begin on page 46, which is the operating budget for policing, which is where we left off. So we actually have the rundown by Ms. Craddock, and we were in questions. I didn't think there were any more questions, but I'll just start here in case there was anything else for policing before we move on to the next section. So I'll open the floor for questions, comments. Okay, seeing none, I just wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity from last night. I'll move on to page 48.
Yes, thanks again, Madam Mayor, and welcome back to the group. But again, that you could have some good constructive discussion on the continued delivery of our proposed budget. I will turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Ms. Craddock, and with comments from the various directors as needed.
Thanks. So this is we are getting to the end of the operating side of the budget. When you look at the service partner pages, animal control is included in there, and we are on the last year of our contract with the North Bay Humane Society. So that one is a fixed amount. It was set into our contract. The other three levies are done as estimates. You can see I've kind of given you the percentage that I've assumed in the estimate. What I've done is really I've looked at the last 4 years and sort of taken an average of what the last four years have been. Public health, that's the health unit, has been reasonably consistent in their increases. DSAP has been reasonably consistent in their increases. You'll recall that with DSAP, they'll do an overall municipal levy increase, and then West Nipissing always has actually a little bit bigger increase because our assessment always is growing faster than the other partner groups in there. So we tend to take a little bit bigger chunk, but overall it's been a sort of a consistent-ish number over the last several years. Eau Chateau has been less consistent in that time period. So I've used a 5% estimate, but certainly that's of the service partners, it's the one that I've got sort of the least amount of certainty on what the increase might be.
Thank you. I'll just open with questions first to our board representatives for the various boards there. So the rest will. Is there any indication on your end when the DSAB or health unit budgeting processes will be undertaken?
We're beginning both of those processes upcoming meeting, but I can schedule both the third week of December because of the
That's fun.
holidays that are coming up. We're usually the last week of the month, both those. But I can inquire with both of the heads of those organizations, just to get a ballpark sense to help with our planning here for an estimate.
So we're probably looking at January before we actually have final numbers on both health units and
Yes.
staff at this point.
Yeah.
And for the Chateau? And Councillor Bonnie?
You shot, we have a new CEO, so I probably in January, we're
Okay.
gonna be looking at the potentially the budget. But I can inquire also if they think there's gonna be what kind of percentage increase we're gonna be looking at, just to see if the financial officer has any ideas too.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the Councillor Bonnie?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not in regards to this, but since it's under service partner, I know the Eau Chateau is looking at redeveloping a new Eau Chateau building. There will potentially be, at the moment, the costing would be about a 5% increase to the municipality of West Nipissing. So how would we fit this in future needs? Because I don't think we want to come to a budget once the building is up and say we need to add a 5% increase on taxes. So how can we smooth that over? And how can we look at that? Because potentially, if everything lines up for the project, probably in 2030, that new building would possibly be up and running if everything is aligns like we're looking at currently. So I think it's smart to have a 5% hit on the budget in a 1-year period, but I'm just wondering if we can actually smooth that over, like maybe 1% for the next 5 years, or maybe 1.25% for the next few years. So I just wanted to be put on the radar. That's most likely going to be coming sooner than later. And I'm not sure if we have room this year in the budget to do an increase or not, or look at maybe 2026. But I think it's something that we should plan ahead of time, so it doesn't have a major hit on the budget line once that new building is actually up and running eventually.
If I may, is the 5% anticipated 5% change in operating costs, not including any of the financing or any of the capital that might be included, or?
Or a municipal portion.
Yeah, okay.
5%, yeah. Increase.
Yeah. Certainly, if you've got the details, Councillor Gagne, that I can take a look at or something like that, and we can see what it would mean to build in over a stage till we get to that point, absolutely. And if council, it is absolutely sort of, if we know that things are coming to build towards it, that's absolutely a good, or a reasonable approach. It's certainly council's choice on doing that, absolutely.
Okay, once we should have that information by April, so I'll bring it and maybe for consideration starting maybe next year. Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Any questions or comments on the service partners section? Okay. You want to go over the reserves and stuff now, or shall we move straight into capital? And where would you like to go next?
I can do the reserves and debt. I was just gonna do a kind of a quick overview on, but certainly if you want to capital and come back to the things at the end, Madam Mayor, I'm okay either way.
The summary of all categories at the front, that's just operating, or that's operating and capital?
It is both, right? And so that the change at the bottom is the change of taxes required to do sort of the change to reserves and things like that will fund the capital. And it does reflect sort of what has happened in the 2025 or the projected amount for 2025. But it has just made an assumption, as we do with our capital, that everything goes into reserve and then it's either funded from financing or reserve with it.
Why don't we move forward into capital, and then we can go back and cover the over once we all the smaller pieces put together. I will. Lord Boston, do you want to say anything at the beginning of our capital? Or?
Sure, and I think that there. Have a good strong look at capital budget for comments. And I think you're likely going to hear some input from the directors here, but certainly allow Mrs. Craddock to lead this once again to open it up.
So you have on your desk, a revised infrastructure sheet. It was just after we had, presented this, Ms. Henning and her folks wanted to clarify a couple pieces, so one second. Did some looking and, so we do have a little bit better, different numbers. It actually works out a little bit, a little bit better than it was before, but I'll walk you through what the numbers part of things here, and Ms. Henning can deal with the, any of the technical questions or what you have there. So when we're looking at the Public Works infrastructure project, so I'm looking at just not their fleet or anything like that yet. We fund infrastructure, as we talked a little bit last night, out of gas tax, which is $955,000 this year, out of OCIF, which is the Community Infrastructure Fund. And this year we are splitting it, that fund with water and sewer, so that they have to relieve some of the pressures on the water and sewer budget. Transfers from reserve. There is a project here that's connected to Hughes, which is that housing enabled water fund that's out at the end of Borgo. In the prior years, we've had Nord's funding, which was the resource development funding, and that is finishing in 2025. So you'll recall that just a few months ago, we came to council, or it was when Mr. Barber was still here, sent an email saying, hey, we're going to do that last section of Dalkeith to funding, but the Nord's funding is now finished. So we do have that happening with all of our infrastructure. The funding sources come and go. OCIF and gas tax have been stable, so those are pieces that always fund public works. So when we're looking at what's on the list here, the housing enabled water system studies, this is a project that's combined with distribution and collection. So the cost you see in here is the cost for public works. There is a larger chunk that's in the water and sewer budget, and it's funded about 73%, or it is funded 73%. So in the revenue lines, when you're looking at the budget, you will see Hughes funding in the revenue lines there. Ethel, again, a combined project with distribution and collection. And when we look at the large projects, that's what we tend to see, is we try to get the timing right so that we can do the work in the ground at the same time that we're doing the asphalt. Oh. Ethel from, yeah, I did change that. I did change that. My apologies. Yes. Yep. Yeah, my cost is the same. Yep. Actually to church. Yes, yeah, yeah.
Where is it from? Main to church?
Main to church.
Okay.
Main to church. Front Street is that last section. So obviously we did the one section. We did not get Connecting Link funding for it in 2025. We've applied again for Connecting Link funding in 2026. We have not yet heard on the possibility of Connecting Link funding. So the $250,000 you see there would just be the municipal portion if we get Connecting Link funding. If we're not successful in Connecting Link funding, Public Works would like to keep that $250,000 in the budget to do just patching on the section. MTO is aware of the condition of our section. They've been driving through town and asking us about it. So we are hopeful that we'll get the Connecting Link funding, but it is a pooled funding. We've had a lot of Connecting Link funding in the last couple of years. So I'm not sure what the status of that will be. We'll probably won't know till early in the new year, but that is either the municipal portion of a 10%. So it is estimated to do the full reconstruction as a $2.5 million project. And if we're not successful in the Connecting Link funding, then it will be patching the section for $250,000. Levac Road, we did the brushing and ditching this year, so it's the resurfacing, and the same with the next two. Corsol is on here as a bit of a placeholder. So initially, when Public Works was looking at their number of projects, Corsol was one they really wanted to try to get in. And as we worked through the number of projects, there was both a financial concern and just a straight operational concern. So financially, at $2 million, we don't have the funds to do Corsol this year. On an operational point, actually, perhaps Ms. Henning, you want to speak to why operationally it's not as practical?
So operationally, the biggest reason is that you can't have two construction projects that completely abut each other. So if we do get the Front Street funding, we wouldn't be able to do Coruscant at the same time because that intersection would be too close. But also operationally, we have John Street still ongoing. And we'll have the Ethel Street project. And when you look at access to the hospital in that portion of town, if you were to close Coruscant as well, it would just be a traffic nightmare for people to get around West Nipissing. So we would like to avoid that and push that until 2027. As much as I would love to see Coruscant done right now, it would just not be practical at this time.
But I have left it in there as this placeholder so that you're aware of the cost. So like I said, at $2 million, it wouldn't fit financially into this budget anyways. There is some money there for that. You have got some flexibility in the capital projects. However, if we use all the available capital funds in 2026 down to zero, it means that we're starting next year trying to look at Coruscant and trying to look at $2 million. And I've only got 1.2 million coming in from transfers to reserve, 900,000 from gas tax. And it leaves you with almost nothing else left for other projects. So it is one that I'm suggesting that because we know this is coming next year, to not use all of your reserves entirely down to zero in Public Works this year, to keep some of that reserves in the bank, knowing that this project is coming next year. That is council's, decision, but that's why it's there as a bit of a placeholder. So the granular resurfacing, we did do brushing and ditching the one year, do resurfacing the following year. Here's where the changes are that came through from your original document. And there is some savings then on East Road and Stewart Road. And that's just due to when Public Works staff went back and looked at it, realized they were using lane kilometers rather than linear kilometers and did some corrections on our estimates there. And that dropped those two estimates. When we get down to the brushing and ditching and drainage section, we did have a little bit of the opposite. You'll see Salter Street estimate went up from what you had on the original one. And again, our staff are going out and sort of finalizing their plans on capital budgets, went out and actually looked at the number of culvert replacements that we'll need to do when they're doing the brushing and ditching on that one. And so the estimate was revised up. Overall, though, between the savings on the granular resurfacing, even with this rise up on the brushing and ditching, we're still in budget, and it's a little bit of a savings compared to what was first presented to you here. We have the bridge deck. The patching is one of those standard ones that we hold in there. The overhead camera detection system, I think we may have had a quick chat about it at council this year. So our intersections along Front Street, the long ago had the remote sensors under the pavement. They have long stopped since working, and replacing that is very challenging. And the system that everyone goes to now is that there's actually a sensor on the light, so it's an above sensor. So at an estimate of $50,000 per intersection, it's one this year that could fit in. The Snowdump land acquisition is actually not to acquire the Snowdump necessarily this year. There was money put into the capital line for it last year. I've kind of held that as if it's work in progress, so that we put another 50 in, so that we're building up to a number that might be reasonable both for the municipality and for the landowner if we're going to acquire that piece of property. So this is just sort of an addition to it. What you don't see here is there's a few projects that are still sort of work in progress. The John Street, and then there's some yeah. So there's a few things, and when we look at how much money is available, I already take into account those work in progress ones as if they're already fixed, and the money in the reserve is sort of tied up with them. So there is a few little projects that were in work in progress at the end of the year. Other than that, based on the funds available to Public Works, with the exception of not being able to do Coruscant for a variety of reasons, everything that you see on this list is can be done within their budget. And I said we won about $200,000 on when they did the relook at the granular resurfacing compared to that. if you want to flip, Mel, if you want to go to the very last page, just because it ties into Public Works, we'll take a look at those deferred projects. And again, you've got an updated sheet on your desk, and the only change in the deferred project was we actually have a price for the Avenue du Lac estimate in there. So again, when the directors first come, they come with lots of projects and sort of long-term plans, and Public Works has certainly been deferring projects year over year and sort of playing catch up to get there, trying to work through their roads needs study. And when you look at the roads needs study, it's sectioned out to projects that should be done in a timely fashion as far as just and those are the ones where you see annual resurfacing. And if you go back to your roads needs study, they list them sort of from the worst to the best, just for the annual resurfacing type projects that we should do. And then the ones that are in the now 1 to 5, 6 to 10 are actually kind of reconstruction projects that are separate from resurfacing. And so that's when you look at your roads needs study, how they sort of fit together. Public Works tries to sort of grab areas. If we're out in doing one project, we're going to grab some of the streets around it, so that if we're out in an area, we're dealing with the whole area. But with their budget limitations, these are the projects that could not get on to this year. I gave you the condition ratings based on the roads needs study that's now a couple of years old, just so you're aware that you know, at the time this was done, I said these were runs what should just be annual projects. They're not at the time of review necessarily the worst roads in the municipality. But again, that's why our staff, we have the initial roads needs, but our staff keep up on what condition the roads are in, look at service requests, look where the calls are coming from, because roads do deteriorate at different rates than what might have been anticipated when the roads needs study was put in place. So yeah, that's just so you can see what was deferred this year. And like I said, the change was adding that cost for the Avenue du Lac one. So would you like me to pause before we go to the next sections, Madam Mayor?
Councillor Larrabee.
Mayor, question, the deferred project, meaning, this list here is being pushed back
Yes,
for a later date.
yes.
There's small short road in, on 539. That's very easy to overlook because it's from the length of it, but I'm getting complaints on it. It's Ayut Road. It's in mud. Now, no longer, but it was in mud at the time. I received complaints, so maybe we can have the guys go and check it out.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Most like that.
Thank you, Your Worship.
It's easy for us, we can say Madam Mayor.
Well, Avenue du Lac, I'll say this as a comment. Can't understand how it could be rated at 8 and 80. When it's more or less impossible in the spring.
Well, to answer that, the roads need study is a snapshot in time. So unless they were doing the study
That's what I thought.
during the spring, then
Yeah.
they're going to look at a road that if you drive that in the summer, it actually looks
Yeah,
kind of nice.
that's exactly what I thought, but I think we have to consider that fact that I don't think it can be rated 8 and 80.
Well, exactly. And that's why we do pull things that aren't necessarily as poorly rated on the roads needs into our considerations, because, you know, our crews admit that road for maintenance is a challenge. So everyone agrees that work does need to be done on that section.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Restool?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just, and I don't know if I'm missing something, but the last section of John from show to
Clark.
Clark.
That was awarded as a 2-year project.
Okay.
So it will be going next year, but it's already, so that's why it's not in here.
Okay, and I have to comment on it. Just, I was under the impression last year that we were going to be doing the Coursol stretch from John to the highway, and we were reassured that it was going to come back this year in this year's budget. And I know there's lots of other projects to do, but, and I use this with a small d, a little bit of disappointment that we're not doing that this year, because last year we said we were going to do it this year and now we're not. So I'm hopeful I'll be self-serving. I'm hopeful that I'm still sitting here next year, and I'm hopeful that we look at this and say that we're gonna be doing this in 2027, because I know the road, I'm sure you guys get a lot of comments on it.
It is
It's
priority.
great.
It's absolutely necessary. The only reason, I mean, aside from financing constraints, is because of all the projects happening around it. If we were, can you imagine if we were to tear up Coruscant, have that closed, have John Street closed, have Front Street
down.
tore up, and somebody needed to get to the hospital, how do they get there, right? So
No, I understand. I'm just hoping.
that's the only reason why I'm recommending deferring that to 2027. It absolutely needs to be done. It's in terrible shape. Yes. I will be pushing that forward.
And I do understand the logistics and all that stuff. Just wanted to.
I
Sure.
think if it would have been different because we expected to get the connecting link on the Front Street piece for this year for a 2025 construction project. So if everything had worked out the way it was planned, Front Street, the highway would be done now all the way across, and then there would be no kind of barrier there as far as the timing. Because I'm the same as you, I think because we're all looking forward to having the work done at Goulart Park next year. And, quite frankly, you've probably been telling people, and I've probably been telling people, and maybe other people, oh yeah, of course, Soul's getting done
Yeah.
next year. We're doing the design work this year and it's going to be done next year. So, that's kind of been expressed and very well received by the public because the sidewalks and just fixing the road and everything like that. So, I said the same in my preparation meetings, because it would have been nice to have it all done at once, but we could blame it on the provincial government, but they are great partners and we love MTO, so we're not going to do that. But if we'd gotten that funding this year, it would have changed the calculation a little bit on the priority on that. Councillor Rivard.
So that 2 million, it's not included in the final numbers though. It's just here as like showing us that, because if we don't get the connecting link and we patch, then we do it or no? It still would be advised no.
No, if we don't get the connecting link and patch, we don't have $2 million. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. And then, sorry, just to follow up, I noticed I like pulling back the old ones as well. So then last year we designed, it was to design Corso from Goulart to John Nord's candidate. Did that not come through? I don't know if we ever heard about that, but just because I know typically, brush and ditch, then you design, then you do the work. So this one was down as design last year for 60,000. So I'm just wondering, did
The
that?
design is in progress for it.
Oh,
It will be completed, like we have got the design at 90% right now for
and
it.
the Nords is for the design, not for the work?
No, I don't believe that we had.
No, when we were looking at projects last year, the Nords fund runs till the December 2026. We thought we had 2026 construction season, so it would have been a Nords candidate. And then they came back to us and said that though the projects run to 2026, we've got to spend the money in 2025, which is why we took on the last section of Dokey's Road very quickly, so we don't have funds left for Nords anymore. It's not a funding envelope that's available.
So I guess, yeah, so we'll bring it all together. Next year, there's a chance Corso from Goulart right to highway, like to me.
We'd probably still spread it on sections and just look at that first section and then look at the second section down the road. The first section is the priority from the highway to John Street. Like that's clearly the priority right now. And if you drive it or walk it, everyone knows that road. I can see how bad it is.
Nice, thank you.
Councillor Pellerin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of questions on Front Street. This asphalt, when was the last time that was done? It didn't seem that it was that long ago. I think it was Interpaving that did it.
I think you're thinking of the other section of Front Street, what we did last year.
No, I mean, before that, it wasn't that many years it was done. I'm trying to think.
I think there may have been just like a shave and pave.
We did a shave and pave for the middle section, and it was interpaving in the middle section, and we just did a shave and pave because we didn't have funding. And the middle section was the worst. And then the second year, we actually got funding, we did the two tail ends. And I'm gonna say it would have been 2012 or 2013. And honestly, when we did it with the shave and pave, we expected 7 years of life out of what we did. So here we are in 2020, 2025, yeah.
Okay, I was wondering because like on the main highway, it lasts a lot longer than this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just curious, Sylvester Street. So that's scheduled for next summer? So it's got nothing to do with the work that was done the other week?
No, that was an unfortunate miscommunication between contractors.
Yes. Because I heard a lot about the resident,
Yes, so
like,
it was we were already looking at it to be done anyway, so. We now clearly need to pave it, yes.
so I guess it's not the time to dig into that, but I'd like to know more of what happened, and where did the gravel go? So anyway, we'll keep that for later. The granular resurfacing. How do we go with this now? We go for 4 inches or 6 inches?
It depends on the road. On the busier roads, we have it for 6 inches, and on the less Canal Road, I believe we've got 6 inches for our calculation. And the lower volume roads are 4 inches.
Yeah, because I know before was always the 6 inches.
For the higher traffic ones, we absolutely do 6 inches. Yes. Dokis was done with 6 inches.
And this is not part of the, when you award those bids for the tonnage, do they have to go with a land scale or just the loader scale?
We do weigh tickets. We click tickets on site, so they go to the scale. Yes. Like the loader. Oh, like
You're not sure what I mean?
well, it depends on the quarry and if they have a scale, which one they're using.
Because at TO, I think you have to have a land scale because obviously, but a loader scale, it's easy to you know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't know in the truck. That's why they ask for a land scale. That's what I think we should do too.
We do spot checks on land scales.
There's no danger for the land scales, danger for the
Yeah, for the loader scales.
scales. Yeah. That's why MTO asks for a land scale. But we don't.
Well, it depends on availability, where they are, and
Right?
the town doesn't have scales, so we're relying on.
But
The quarry-
when they
the
bid,
quarry
they
has
should have
scales.
a land scale. If they want to bid on the contracts, that's what they do for the MTO.
Yeah, they're using much larger quarries than we are sometimes. But we do collect weigh tickets, and I mean, if we want to only go to quarries with land scales, we can do that. We might see higher pricing.
Something to think about.
Just while we're on, I'll just ask a question because it's in, so for Tomiko Road, we're 4 kilometers. How come there's such a big difference in price between that, I just. Oh, no, not,
Pretty
no,
far.
those are expensive because they're further out.
Well, the difference between East Road and
Well,
Tomahawk
because
Road?
Stewart is 3 kilometers and it's 57,000 and Tomiko is 4 kilometers and it's one.
It's further out, and we have 6 inches on Tomahawk because there's higher traffic.
Oh, okay, so that's a 6-inch one as well as a canal. Okay.
But it also location and.
I thought canal was just like, because you said canal is 6 inches, so.
Sorry. The difference between canal, well, canal is only 1.64 kilometers. And Tomco
But
is,
Tomiko is a 6-inch.
yeah.
And
Tomiko's
that's why the price difference is there, is because it's.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Did you?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted, just one clarification on Coursol. So the engineering, the design and engineering is almost done for the entire, from Goulart to the highway? So it'll be ready for whenever we do both?
The design that we're doing is only from the highway to
Okay.
John Street, but yes,
There's
it
no
is,
design needed.
it's 90% complete.
No,
And that includes sidewalks.
yes.
Stargazing.
I assume so.
Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are we still using our operators, the grader operators, to, when it comes time to spread the gravel on the road? At one time, we gave the company,
Yes.
had the contract,
We use
the
our
grader and everything to put the road on, and then it had changed to we supply our grader operator to spread the gravel, not the company. Are
Our
we
crews
still,
do the grading. Our crews do the spreading, yes.
they do the spreading?
Yes.
Your grader operator would know if the load is short change. Okay, I guess we understand what I'm saying. Just by the eye of how long you spread, it gives you a good idea if he's maximum weight or not, so. Well, that's a good practice to have our operators on there. Thank you.
I have an additional question on Bristol, please. So the Burgo runs from Michaud just to the cul-de-sac where the current housing ends?
Yes. So it's first to supply the water and sewer for that development would be at that dead end.
Okay, and you said it's 73% funded. So the 400,000 is the total amount, or the 400,000 is the 27%?
No, the 400,000 is Public Works full portion,
Okay,
not just the municipal, the full cost, not just the municipal portion. So there is revenue recognized in the funding line for it.
okay. And it's just, the reason that's confusing is because that's full cost, but then when you look at the Front Street one, you gave us just our 10%.
Because they wanted to make sure that they could hang on to that
Uh,
if the connecting link funding doesn't come through.
Okay, so it's.
That's, yeah.
On that.
Yep.
And we are doing that improvement on Gorgo to serve that large vacant property. Do we own a road allowance? Like, do we currently own a road allowance? Like, will Bow Street continue through to Coursol? Is that the plan?
You know, the subdivision plan has the roads connecting to the Coruscant side.
Okay. And the current service that runs along that road, is the service sufficient for the residents that are there already?
The Burgo one?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's like there's no issues with that system.
No,
You're
there's
not
no-
fixing a problem.
No.
Okay. Okay.
This was just it was a good application for housing. It was one of the only ones that fit that criteria for.
Is there any way to recover any part of our 27% cost from? Could that development happen if this, whatever you're doing here, was not done?
No, this would be required for that development to be serviced properly.
Okay.
Because you would have, I think, like 200 homes serviced through a road that has.
Okay. And is there any kind of cost recovery from the developer for providing that service that he needs to develop that property?
No, he's responsible for the work within the development, and there is some work on a lift station and things like that he'll be responsible for
lift station.
yeah, updates, but not on this portion.
And does the water and sewer service along Coursol Road go all the way, or sorry, along Coursol go all the way to Goulart? Goes right to that trailer park, is that sir? That's not fully serviced with sewer, isn't it?
No, it has its own, it has force main.
Okay. So their water, so they have water there.
They have sewer too,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's a private system inside the park.
That pushes
that
out to the
pushes out
street.
to the street.
Okay, thank you. I just, we're gonna spend Is it about the same amount in water and wastewater? I mean, this is $1 million project.
Yeah, so the total project is just over $1 million. So there's a little bit more that's on the water and
Water and
sewer
sewer.
side. So yeah, it's the 27% of $1 million. That-
Okay, so it's gonna be $270,000 project.
Yep.
That we don't need. The developer needs it, but we don't need it. That's correct. Okay, thank you.
I think we're getting a little off topic, but I think we do what you need it. Municipality needs it because without that, then you won't have this condensed housing.
Yeah. Oh, I get that, but there is a cost.
So there's yeah. And to remain competitive, I think sometimes in things like this, you have to sweeten the pot, to try and encourage the development.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it might just never happen. It'll just stay as a vacant land forever.
I understand that. Okay, thank you. And Riverview Court. There's no description of the work there, just says $27,000.
It's just asphalt sheeting, that's all.
Any other questions or comments, Councilor Pellegrini?
Just quickly, the lift station just past the hospital, that's the one that's gonna be worked on?
The one on, at the end of Michaud,
Oh, just,
or the one on, oh, the one on Corso?
yeah,
That's the one that the developer will be responsible for upgrading.
okay, because is this one of them that overflows
No,
every once in a while when we got too much rain?
no, we have no issues with that lift station, but it can't support the
new
the
development.
proposed development.
Thank you.
Councilor Restful.
Just for clarification, I believe that lift station is the one that we spoke about at the meeting on Tuesdays, at the end of Michaud.
No, that's a,
No, there's one on Corso and there's one on Michaud.
Right. No, yeah. Which one are we speaking about?
So for the Burgo one,
Yes.
this would be water and sewer tying into the.
Right.
But that development kind of splits, so we would be requiring upgrades to the Corso lift station.
Okay.
And then upgrades to the water and sewer lines
So
on Burgo to the Michaud lift station.
okay, so is the developer paying for the upgrades on the Corso lift station?
Yes.
But we're paying for the upgrades on the Michaud lift station.
Yeah, there's no upgrades to the Michaud lift station.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just upgrading the water and sewer lines that are actually in the road because they're too small to
Okay.
support the additional volume of housing.
I guess the one question.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
Sorry,
just.
just the one question would be, is this development happening once we do this? I guess that would.
Yeah, that would be
That
a
would be
great
just my
question
larger
to ask.
concern, if anything, because sometimes you see, like, these things come in and then poof, 15 years down the line, you got the line running, but it's never.
Got $1 million of infrastructure and no.
But we don't
housing.
have a say on that mostly.
No.
That's all I need.
Okay. Councilor Pellegrini.
So on that same topic, so if we do the road, we're gonna have to do the work at the same time on the lift station, right? So how do we know if the developer's ready or not? If he's gonna do the
Well-
work,
Is there any commitment to build? Like, are there building permits issued on this property at this point?
The developer has the design has requested the design so that they can tie into the design that we have.
but it's gonna have to be done at the same time as we do the street, right?
No,
No?
no, because it's a dead end, so we will dead end and then they could just connect at the dead end portion when they build their development.
Okay.
It'll
because-
be in the ground ready for them.
Okay, so I know it's off the street, so there's not gonna be any work from the manhole to the street.
Not until they go to connect to it.
I have another question then. Why would we not upgrade on Coursol Road where there was a possibility of actually serving potential further development. So I'm sorry, we're asking.
No,
these
it's more of
questions.
a-
I mean, I think that one's a good one because
I think
we
it-
know Goulart Road is, like it's right next to our urban area.
Mhm.
So if you look at where density is going to come next, it's likely we may see density coming around that corner onto Goulart Road up to Evansville would be a natural kind of expansion area. So if you're going to invest in a significant infrastructure, why not do it so it would serve instead of on a dead end street that only goes to that development?
that would have to be a question that probably Mr. Ming could answer
Okay.
on why they looked at splitting it in the two directions.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the water line on Coursol is already large enough to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I guess my question will be in regards just to the budget. Why, I think like Conseiller Rivard was saying, why are we budgeting for something that may never happen? That's
Why
my
are we
concern.
doing it this year? Like,
Exactly.
why are we doing it this
putting
year when we don't have?
400,000? And we've like, I go golfing every week and I see the work that's being done there. And that is far from putting the shovel in the ground to bring in the water and the sewer on that land, right? There's so much other work that needs to be done on that land before I agree with what you're saying. And I think at the end of the day, I understand why probably will go, because then it's also gonna assist, that dead end. So that's fine. And like you said, Mr. Ming, to me, like I keep saying this, you guys are the expert. If that's what you're saying is best, then fine. But why would we budget $400,000 right now for a maybe? Like, that's my thought process. Unless there's a commitment from this developer that yes, we are doing it.
So it was a proposal when we had this funding application. So the Hughes funding came out. We applied the first time on the same project. We're unsuccessful. Hughes number 2 came out. We applied on this project because there had been the developer had made all these moves to sort of get started. The project kind of qualified to get us the Hughes funding. You're right. We haven't seen a lot of action on there.
I think 2 years now since it has.
Which is probably when we started the applications,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So absolutely, but the funding, I said, if you don't do it now and we wait for developer, absolutely, the funding may or may not be there at that point, right? We're doing this work only because it's a funded project.
It's almost 75%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the,
Yeah.
if I may, I think that's the interest behind the project is that the funding is available and there's a large part of it that's actually paid for. What's the total
Yeah.
project? So we're talking $1 million.
$1 million.
Okay, so it's over $1 million.
But-
It's costing us 400.
No,
and it's funded for the
no.
rest.
Yeah, it-
Remember,
200, it'll be $1 million total if you include the water and wastewater, which we won't see till we see the water and
Yeah,
wastewater
yeah.
budget. Funded at 73%, so the total cost between our budget and the water and wastewater budget would be $270,000.
Yeah, and also,
Okay, sorry, I was confused because it says 400,000.
I know.
That's the actual, the total cost of doing all the work, right? Yeah.
Okay.
and to point out, when we were looking at the funding application, it was beneficial for us as Burgo was already on our, I think it was in like the top 10 of our roads need study. So there was that backing that we were already looking at some sort of asphalt resurfacing in that area.
Then I'll retract my concern.
And it's that entire vacant piece of property that's owned by the developer. Okay, and there is a plan of subdivision for that entire piece of property.
There's a conceptual plan. The only concrete plans that we have at this point are for 2 18-unit apartment buildings.
Have those gone through planning?
They don't need to, the property is properly zoned.
Okay,
It was rezoned in 2003.
okay. And then the rest is just the big, there's no lots or anything like that. It hasn't come. So when you look at this property, I'm sorry, from a planning perspective, you have two separate lots that are each going to have an 18, how many units?
Well, it's one piece of property right
Okay.
now. There will be two apartment buildings that will face onto Crystal at this
Okay.
point in time. And then they've created, as you can see, that kind of road
Yeah.
thingy, that in there will be development around and on the waterfront.
Okay,
And it will be, there's no determination at this point whether it will be a vacant land condominium or a subdivision plan. If they were to take the apartments off the rest of the property, they would obviously be coming back for severance. But right now, the plan doesn't involve any planning applications.
okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Carter.
So to come back to the lift station on Borgo. We're talking about lift station, so.
There are
So-
no upgrades to the lift station.
No,
There's not,
no.
we said there was some work being done on it, or, no?
No, they would be tying into it, but there's
Okay.
no upgrades to that station. Upgrades to the station on Coruscant.
That station
Okay.
has the capacity to serve whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
that lift station is new. It was just
Yeah.
a few years ago. So I think when they built that lift station, they had the development in mind already.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Councillor Restful.
Just about the lift station. I appreciate the comment from the CEO. I mean, to a large degree, this is going to be funded by someone else.
Yeah.
We have a 27% commitment to this. I'm wondering, and maybe we don't know the answer in the room, and that's okay. If the infrastructure not being there might be some of the reason why the development might not be happening yet. If we didn't have the capacity, then we couldn't bring these
Yeah.
builds online, right?
I will say the developer has actively reached out recently, looking for our design and how the tie-ins work so that they can make sure that their design does tie in. So we haven't seen any actual went in a lot of those ways. They have reached out for that. So I can't say whether or not they're going forward, but
If we were just
We're-
resurfacing that section of Borgo from Michaud to the end. What would be the approximate cost? You have Riverview Court at 27,000. It looks to be about 3 times the length, so what, 60 to 80,000 dollars?
probably more than that because we're kind of Riverview, we're not looking at doing any sort of drainage.
Okay.
Whereas Burgo is one of these, all the dishes have been filled in, so we probably similar to the work that we did on Riverfront this
Okay,
year. And what was the cost for that one? Because it would be, yeah, one of those, the ditches have all been filled in, there's no drainage, so Riverfront. We have too many rivers. Riverview, which attaches to Burgo, we're just resurfacing because it kind of runs downhill and it would hit the drainage that's going to be fixed on Burgo.
okay.
But if we were to actually, just looking at what we had budgeted for last year when we did
Riverfront.
Riverfront over on the other side.
The Riverfront
What did that one come in at?
Riverfront RFQ, the bid came in at 339.
339. Yeah.
For what length?
Or that is 285 meters, I believe. And Burgo is a little more than that.
Is it 200?
100 meters.
100 meters? So yeah, it's a little less than that. So yeah, you'd be looking at a little less too.
Sorry, how much was Riverfront?
We had it 300 and.
339 was very.
Okay, so that changes, to me, that changes the calculation a little, because if we were only doing the resurfacing, it would cost us the same amount as it's gonna cost us to do the full project with the
Water and sewer.
water and sewer.
Yeah.
And we're ready.
Element.
It's a good investment.
Thank you. Councillor Resto.
Yeah, I had one more thing I want.
Yeah, sure.
Again, through you, I agree, it's a good investment. We all know the challenges with housing in the community. I know we've had challenges and even when it comes to offering employment to certain individuals who weren't able to find housing. So if it can help, address some of that and also looking, hopefully things do happen there and get built. You got to look at the impact for revenue from taxes, future taxes as well, which would probably offset this investment over the years as well. So I think it's, we're not voting, obviously. I think it's a good, if we're getting about 75% paid for, why not go ahead and open those opportunities?
Any other questions on public works? Yes, Councillor Vaughan.
Yeah, thank you. On the new document that you gave us, under brushing, ditching and drainage, are we doing all the brushing and ditching for all of those properties? All of those roads, I mean?
For East,
No, Avenue du Lac, Adelaire.
No, those are the good.
those are deferred projects.
All deferred.
Those are all currently deferred.
So for Avenue du Lac, since we did get a delegation to ask, so that road won't be touched in the upcoming budget.
Not as it currently stands, but something.
Not as it currently stands. However, as when Public Works did those revisions to East Road and Stewart Road on the granular resurfacing, it does create like it's just around $200,000 of sort of budget room and capital. So the Avenue du Lac project certainly could come in. If you've got the capacity for it, it certainly could come in from a budget.
Be able to capacity to do it.
From a budget perspective.
Yes.
A portion of it. What we had discussed, so it, I believe from our discussions, if I may, was that Avenue du Lac would be more of the priority on the deferred projects.
Yes.
Not the entirety because it is a long road, but perhaps a portion of it just to get things started on behalf of.
Yeah, I would recommend doing it over 2 years
Okay.
if we're gonna go forward with it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Larry.
On that same note, Councillor Barron, I went a few times this spring and I do. It's probably not the whole road that has to be done right now, but it would be nice next summer if there's something left to maybe do a strip and the ditching. I honestly don't know how much ditching is needed because it's almost at the lake level, so. That's it.
Thank you. We can come back to that when we swing back around. And I do appreciate having the deferred projects list because it kind of gives us an idea of what else could be on the table if we free up the budget other places. Okay, and it is just one last question on this land acquisition, that the plan is not to acquire land in 2026. This is just kind of tucking money away. So when we're ready to do the land acquisition, we have money there.
Yes and no. Yes, it's tucking money away. We've had money there. I know that I don't know if we've had if we've spoken with the landowner recently about what they are now looking for that piece of property. If we're in a spot where we've got enough, we can now start to negotiate on what they would like. I mean, it was a few years ago and their expectation was a little more than we thought was reasonable. Yeah.
To them, so.
Yeah, but we certainly can just see where they're at right now and where we are at in relation to that. Yeah.
Do we have a plan B?
We're leasing the land from them, the
Okay.
owner right now. So it's the same land, but when we've got a lease arrangement for the winter that we
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Sweet. Oh, and here you thought you were done.
little yeah, so you do just have the Council Pellerin asked for the fire fleet list. You do the fire fleet list there, but looking at what's scheduled for 2026. So you've got Public Works list there. The first item on the list, we're not looking for the full plow. They've actually got a dump body and a cabin jacket that you're putting together. Yeah, so they've got sort of the truck part, and this is just the plow wing and harness to sort of convert equipment that they already have. Two new plow trucks, the difference being the single axle on the one, so a little bit lower cost expectation there. One light vehicle and smaller items with the trackless tow behind and the float trailer that's there. I think they had a trailer that had reached end of life that was being surplus. Yeah. And then in fire, the replacement of one vehicle is on there and also a light vehicle. So that's what we have with the fleet replacement, just the two departments.
I'm not.
So Werner, Franken truck?
I didn't want to call it that.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
Is that half of this kind of truck and a half of this kind of truck and then a plow being put on the front of it. Okay,
Yep.
congratulations, Vern.
I'm not gonna give you the mechanics of that.
Okay, the two plow trucks, that are being replaced, is there gonna be any residual value on those to we declare them surplus?
We'll have to ask our
Not-
folks.
It's not much by the look in your eyes, okay? And then the under fire, the fire apparatus being requested is in addition to the 700,000, was it 700,000 into reserve?
So the transfer to reserve is the part that impacts the tax levy, and then this would be funds coming out of
Okay,
reserve, yeah.
I can't. Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam. Just one, so on the fire apparatus, I believe this is the third year that we've approved for a new truck, right? Where are we on the new trucks?
So the RFPs are being reviewed one final time to get sent out.
So we do have some.
I've got three RFPs ready to final review
Okay,
and get them out to the suppliers.
fantastic. Good.
So the plan is in the next week to get these things mailed out and have them, what are we giving them, 2 turnaround or?
I because of the holiday, gave them to the very beginning.
All right, we'll be generous and we'll give them 4 weeks.
Yeah, so
Not till next year.
we might have them on the first meeting of council in the new year.
Okay. Okay, so there's a couple of trucks.
2 tankers and a rescue are being tendered out right now.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you. And this one's an additional one.
So if you look at the list, as you see, then a lot of these vehicles are back at the amalgamation period. And so this is where you ran into the bunch up of all these vehicles coming due in and around the same time. We've been lucky, we've been able to extend their lives as much as possible. The former chiefs, through finding used equipment, have been able to kind of keep the fleet going. Again, the cost over the last few years has skyrocketed on any vehicles. Where you just pick up a 2,000 gallon tanker, for example, with a pump on it, 320 was the price. That was back in 2017, 2018. You're now looking at 600,000 for that same truck because of the price of cabs and chassis and all the electronics that are in them, right? So the intention is to try and again, looking at what we have in reserves, as Ms. Craddock has mentioned, you're going to deplete whatever reserves are in there. So I'll call it a bonus. The fact that I didn't get the trucks ordered last year or the previous year was we were still putting that money in anticipation that as soon as we can get these out, we're going to be depleting those reserves or very close to it at the cost of. And again, when we look at the age of the vehicles in the list that's been provided to council, you have a lot of them that are 2005 and older. So finding parts for them, trying to keep them on the road, I've been lucky, but the costs are increasing on the maintenance on these apparatus.
Perfect.
If I may, Chief, perhaps you can give us an indication of which vehicles are actually going to be replaced from the list there. I'm not sure that it's clear.
So as I mentioned, we are proposing for two tankers on this request for proposals and the current rescue van. So the rescue is the one that we have here at Station 1. The tanker is what we're looking at. And again, it's going to go into shuffling some of the trucks that are still in reasonable shape, but are to a slower, or not necessarily slower, but not as busy stations. So as an example, replacing the tanker up in Station 4 up in Field with a newer tanker, because that one runs quite a bit, both covering River Valley as well as down here. Get a new tanker up in there, take that tanker that's still in good shape or reasonable shape, I'll say, and perhaps move it out to River as a backup tanker. We still have a pump that works on it. River, we've moved the truck from Verner up to there to give them one with a pump because the manifold on the one that was up there had rotted out. So Verner's tanker is strictly a water tanker now. There's no pump that functions on it. Leving's tanker currently is just strictly a tanker as well because the pump seized up on it. North Manette's tanker isn't currently being used. When we do have a call out that way, we have Leving that's responding as well as French River on our automatic aid agreement. So we can move a tanker strictly for shuttling water out to North Manette and bring that tanker with a reasonable pump that's still working, perhaps put it in Leving as a backup truck for Leving. The pickup truck, so the one that's in the list, it says Crystal Falls Fire Hall. The intention with that is to replace one of the pickup trucks here, the oldest one, which is the 2014. I believe that is the Command 3. Replace that one with a 3/4 ton diesel and move this one up to Crystal Falls to be able to support it. It's a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive with a pull-out tray and everything on the back. Again, usage and whatnot, we can keep it running for a few more years, still be able to transport equipment and personnel, and have a newer truck here to be able to pull the big boat and the rest of our equipment when we need to pull out. The one that's in Crystal Falls right now, which is the one that was formerly in the Etobicoke garage, is a old police pickup truck that the fire department inherited and managed to keep it on the road. Do you want to go for a fun ride?
Hold on.
I think you may have a hard time reaching the steering because the seat doesn't quite come all the way back up anymore. Well, let's just say I have a hard time reaching it.
Yeah, I've sit on it.
So if that clarifies,
Yeah, I was just expecting you on the list, like, which I know you ran through fairly, so which ones are going to be eliminated on this list?
Is anything being declared surplus?
the one, so the tankers, as we replace, those ones would be declared a surplus. And again, it's looking at shuffling which ones are the worst ones. So I know this tanker, for example, that's here at Station 1, the tank leaks, the valves, the dump valves are leaking. So that would be one that we would look at declaring surplus and putting one of those new tankers in this hall here at Station 1. So if we look, where are we here? Freightliner tanker 1, that's a 99. That's the one that's in this station. So that would be one of the ones being replaced. And then, as I mentioned, the other one that we were looking at was tanker 4, which is also a 99. The International. But again, I could probably get a couple more years out of that and replace perhaps that one over to, as I mentioned, either Verner or River Valley, and do a little bit of shuffling in there. Current plan is the 99s, start replacing them. If that helps clarify.
So just if I,
Is there a market and value for used fire apparatus of that age?
Well,
we did
some deals did well.
okay on our last 2 fire trucks that we disposed of. I was sort of surprised. It really depends on running condition or not running condition. You know.
So right now, to answer your question, your worship. In the current shape of the tankers, because they're running, they can still shuttle water. Could probably get a reasonable price on recovery out of something like Gov Deals.
And so if we have 3 on order and we're approving another one, does that mean that 4 items will be declared surplus and sold, and there will be money coming in from those sales?
Yes.
I just want to like, I don't want to collect fire trucks. Councillor Gandhi?
Thank you. So what's the 4th truck being replaced this year? Because you did mention 3.
Yeah, we mentioned tanker 1. We mentioned tanker 4.
And rescue 1, you said.
Rescue 1 is being replaced. That's the one here at the station that responds to all the highway calls.
That's a Spartan.
That's that Spartan Rescue 1, which is the 2001. And the next one that we would also be looking, did it go
I have tanker 7 on my list. Is that
tanker 7, which is the one that's over in Living. That the pump no longer works on it. It's basically a tanker, just straight water truck right now. And that one is your the GMC tanker 7, which is a 2000.
We're replacing 4 tankers and 1 pickup truck, right?
3 tankers, the rescue. Sorry. Yes, 3 tankers, the rescue, and a pickup truck.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Pellerin?
Were any of those going on trade-ins or no?
No. No, there's
How much mileage you figure on them? Probably not a lot of mileage.
no, they don't get the mileage. It's probably worse the fact that they're sitting for extended periods of time.
The truck themselves, I'm sure, easy to find parts on the truck themselves, maybe not parts for the.
So right now, the last 2 major repairs that I've had to source them out of a scrapyard in Quebec. Because the price from the dealer for new was ridiculous. And then the other part is trying to get some of these parts because they're older trucks.
Thank you. Okay, other questions on a fleet? Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make sure, I guess everyone knows the lifespan that we're expecting to run our pumpers.
The pumpers lifespan is for municipality is 15 years to 20 years max. And again, that depends on the call volume, the level of service, the maintenance, and the rest of it.
At that time, we have to replace.
Under the Fire Underwriter Insurance Bureau, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that affects your insurance ratings.
Okay, we'll move on to.
Actually, if council's okay, do you want to skip facilities for a moment, go to equipment, because I think it's probably shorter and we're running into break time, and Mr. Poulin is out tracking down our strange toys.
Of course.
So if we want to look at page 9 with the equipment,
Okay.
and we'd like to keep the fire chief on the hot seat here.
Okay.
All right.
So when we were talking about transfers to reserve yesterday, I did indicate that there's an increase of $75,000 transfer to reserve for fire equipment. However, it's offset by I've taken $25,000 that used to go to so there was $100,000 that used to go to facility. I've reduced that to 75 to sort of move 25 up to equipment, and then there's an additional $50,000 ask to get to the fire equipment. And a lot of that is due to the fact that the fire chief, having come in, has now looked at getting reasonable kind of replacement on a schedule for our equipment. Previously, we've been doing it on a replace everything all in one shot and pulling money from a variety of places. So the chief is now looking at this really scheduled replacement of our equipment. That said, looking at the list that he has here, if we don't do that additional transfer to fleet equipment, this list is not able to be achieved this year. So he doesn't have the fleet or the equipment reserve to do all of this without that additional transfer to reserve. Now, as we also spoke yesterday, is that we do get this sort of bonus money, I'll call it, from Firemark that can be used towards equipment and things like that, but not knowing what level. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, we can do it all, because I think that we're going to get, $75,000 again from Firemark. We don't have sort of a history that speaks that we get that level each year from Firemark for it. So you will see that there is some that was sort of conditional that he put upon receiving the fire protection grant, or not conditionally eligible for the fire protection grant. That's a grant that they brought in for 2025, I think. And so we were successful in the grant process for 2025. And the chief did obtain some dryers and cleaning equipment and things like that. The grant appears to be that they're going to allocate a portion to fire services across Ontario. So there is still competition based, but there is still sort of a notion that fire services will get something. We just don't know what the level of something will be. So the compressor is potentially eligible for that grant, and the rest is just sort of routine operating equipment that is required to keep our firefighters safe. SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus, and it's what keeps them alive when they're in the fire. And that's what we've got with the fire. Community services. And I thought I changed this. I know we had this conversation last year. They don't actually mean lawnmower, they do mean lawn tractor. They mean one of the great big ones, obviously for the $40,000, and then just some technology. So a much lighter list for community services. Just flip over to the last page and we look at Public Works. Public Works, very fleet heavy, not so much equipment. We're just looking at their technology replacement. And then again, in general government, our equipment is almost entirely tied with IT, since community services takes care of the facility part of things. So again, the one project, and you see it appearing back here as opposed to being a work in progress because it hasn't actually started now. We've got the fiber optic project that is sort of carrying forward, just straight replacement on computers, and the rest is sort of tied to some of the security within our technology, within our facility here. So that's what we have with meant for the departments.
We had discussed, I think at length, the building security issues in the past. More than a few years ago, I think we were having more significant issues in our stairwells and et cetera, et cetera. The budget that you've given yourself there is adequate to, I just wonder whether, because there were discussions at that time about some steps that might be taken to make the city hall building a little bit more secure, especially after regular working out. So I don't think $6,400 is very far on that.
That's the cameras. So
yeah, so there's nothing, or would that fall into the facilities budget?
a lot of that is. Yeah. Well, I'd say a lot of it we've discussed a lot of different ways and a lot of different things that we could do. And some of it is just replacement of doors and things like that are actually just sort of in the operating facility maintenance type thing. As well as even just we've looked at, it's just sort of an addition of strikes, not a full new system of strikes and things like that. So we looked at what we can do within our operating. Certainly even with, we've had just, locking that door in the hallway, it certainly changed a lot of our problem. It makes it very inconvenient for the library, but that stopped a lot of issues. The problem was when the library was open, when the rest of town hall was closed. We had a lot of traffic coming in and out. So by locking that door and locking the door at the bottom of the stairs, it does stop the ability to get.
So there is a bathroom at the bottom of the stairs that library patrons use?
No, they actually,
They-
the staff unlocks the door for them, waits for them to come back, and he locks the door.
That's a little labor intensive.
It is inconvenient, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
I'll address that within facilities when Mr. Frank-
Yep.
Okay, that's- other questions on the two equipment pages? Okay. Shall we? And now then we're at defer, the only thing we have left is Mr. Dansky. So if we do our recess now, we'll come back to community services, Councillor Rivard, Councillor Restful, who are clearly anxious to get on. Okay.
It's moved by Councillor Restall and seconded by Councillor Gagne, be it resolved that approximately
20?
7:22 PM, 22 PM. I'm up for a 10-minute recess.
All in favor? Gary, thank you.
Our security.
Hey, welcome back after a brief recess. We're continuing our 2026 budget deliberations. We are at our final section, going back to facilities for 2026.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and let's Ms. Craddock resume, and I'm sure we'll have some input on this section as well.
Again, I'll take you through the numbers part of things and the funding issues, and Mr. Poulin is obviously got the details on the projects. So it's sort of divided by facilities, and you'll see at the very end there is a little bit assigned to public works fire with their facilities as well. As I said yesterday, community services acts as sort of our department that cares for all of our public buildings and outdoor spaces. So we have issue with the retaining wall, and this is the wall in behind Town Hall. So if you're parking down below, it is sort of a terraced up to it, and so the wall has actually started to come down. We've done got some geotech ongoing. They've got a well there, so we've got an estimate of $350,000 for that replacement or repair of the wall. You'll remember from last year, we had the Sturgeon Falls Recreation Center on the list as a very big project with a potential source of funding, and then we were unsuccessful then for the funding. Mr. Poulin and his team then took a look at, okay, if we didn't get the funding, how do we break that project into smaller chunks and get it done? So this is just, you know, a portion of that original project that we talked about last year, looking mostly at the pool, again, with doing some lobby renovations at the same time to tie things in. We've had some conversations at council recently regarding the Verner Municipal Building, and Mr. Poulin does have those requested various different scenarios that will come back to council at the next meeting, so that we have the whole picture of all the various different options that there are with the Verner building. So this is just sort of if we were doing the rehabilitation of the building and not looking at any those other options. So this is in here kind of again as a bit of a placeholder. Now it's this number, the million, was based on, I believe, 2022 numbers.
Right.
And we very recently, as part of the process, got updated numbers. And so if we're looking at this option, it is actually now a $2.8 million estimate for this option. Again, we will talk about all those other options at council meeting, but just so you know, now this was a project that we talked about potential as a financing project if we were going to go ahead with it. So if we're looking at 2.8 as opposed to 2.2, it would just mean a difference in financing. Chiller replacement was on the list last year, but again came off last year because there simply wasn't funds to do all the work that was proposed last year. So it's back for this year on the chiller replacement at the Verner Arena. Again, if we look at the next page, the wharf replacement, we started that conversation at budget last year, removed it from budget last year, so we could look at a few different things. Had a quick talk at council again recently when we looked at what were these major projects that had to happen with community services. And again, right now there is potential for grant on that one. We are in the process of application still. None of that is ever a guarantee. The $4,370,000 is the total cost of the total estimated cost of the project. So if we get $2 million of funding, there's $2.37 million of municipal cost tied to it. And again, we would look at financing for part of that. If we're unsuccessful in the funding application, it certainly does change the municipal situation. But again, it'd be a project that we'd be looking at financing for the project. Goulard Park baseball field was again that carry forward from last year. We've had some discussion. We were successful with the Field of Dreams application. Again, the 1.25 million is the total cost for the two field option that council had taken a look at. What's missing here is we did actually apply for NHSC funding on this, so there is a potential of additional funding on that project. But you know, so it again, it is part of that group that we presented to council as potentially funding the municipal financing the municipal contribution part of it. So we had those three projects that were potential ones that we might bundle together for financing if we go ahead with those projects, being Verner, the wharf replacement, and the Goulard Park ball diamonds, so that there we may look at financing the municipal portion if we do all those three projects. Then on a much smaller scale, we have the Verner fire hall. It's actually just the parking. We have a space on our lot, and I believe that used to be parking even was this story that.
Sorry, I didn't quite.
Sorry, it used to be parking or?
Yes, so
Yeah.
the information I've received on that one is when that was the municipal hall for Verner, staff was parking in the back and then residents would park in the front. It hasn't been used and it hasn't been maintained, so my hope is to be able to reopen that because we don't have enough space in front of the hall for the members to be able to park when we get a call out. Because also the lot next door, there's the other business, which takes up a lot of the parking space.
So it's just sort of granular and grading to
Open it up.
a parking space behind the Verner Fire Hall. And then Public Works has got work at both yards just to do some structural repairs with the steel columns in the facilities.
Questions, comments? Councillor Rivard.
Like you through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just looking at, I pulled up last year's budget for facilities, community services. Most of those projects are the same projects on this one. So I just want a better understanding as to like how the money works. Like, so if like what happened last year or what didn't happen, and then like, does that have a bottom line on our budget this year with the increase? That's what I'm not.
So if I may, so last year when we brought the projects to council, from the first iteration, yep, we had to remove actually just about everything except for we kept the little bit of work at the museum. We kept we did keep the complex project in there, like the municipal portion, in the hopes that we got the funding, and that was the only one that didn't get completed. So we actually removed a lot of those projects when we passed, prior to us passing the capital budget last year. And so
So yeah, I guess my question would be like, was there any capital work done in community services last year, or is it kind of deferred to this year? Because I know like the Goulard Park has been deferred, right? Because we had the
So the only three projects that were approved for capital last year in community services was the Surgeon Falls Recreation Center. And we didn't proceed because we didn't get the grant on that one. So we didn't proceed with that one because we couldn't do that one all on our own. The HVAC upgrade at the Surgeon Falls Museum and the Goulard Park, everything else was removed during budget discussions last year. Now, community services was finishing some projects from the year before that finished off. But as far as new projects, the only two that went ahead in the end were the HVAC upgrades at the museum, and then the rest was finishing up stuff from the prior year, finishing up work in progress.
If I could just add, for the chiller replacement for the Verner Arena, we had applied for a grant through Trillium and were unsuccessful. And by the time we got notice, what we did go ahead with was the complete design of it. So we got a consultant come in, and so the design work's been done. So if council approves the chiller replacement for next year, then we're just going to tender for the unit itself and the work.
And how was the design covered? Was that under capital or under your operating?
We did the
Professional fees.
Yeah.
Under professional fees in your operating budget. And when we look at these numbers here, which one of the, which of these actually are reflected in the current like total budget? So I'm going to assume the whole 2.25 is not in.
Actually, it is. So everything that's here is actually reflected in your budget. It's reflected as being portion from reserve and a finance portion. Yeah. Yeah.
For those three projects, and the other ones are all at 100%.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, other questions? Councillor Pagani?
Madam on the Goulart Park, we talk about maybe putting poles instead of poles. Was that ever looked at?
What we've done, through you, Madam Mayor, what we've done is we've actually done, we're in the process of completing a geotechnical review of the ground at the field number 2, so that they can engineer and provide specs for both a pole, a wooden pole or a steel pole. So we're gonna get the 2 prices. Contractors need to know how the installation is gonna occur as per engineering specs. So we will, when we tender out the project, we will come back with 2 separate prices. So we'll know exactly what a wooden pole will cost versus a steel pole. And then council can make the final decision on what we proceed with.
Okay. My other question for the wharf replacement. You said you send divers down or whatever. How far is the bedrock?
That I don't know, Councillor.
I'm curious because.
So I'll just try to put it in context. So in 2009, when the municipality got funding and acquired the property from Fisheries and Ocean, it's probably prior to 2009. But they got funding from both. It was infrastructure funding at the time, predates us, but they got a large amount of money to redo the entire wharf once they had acquired the property from Fisheries and Oceans. Those cribs where the boardwalks were pre-existing. And what was done is they built the new boardwalk over pre-existing cribs. So now back from 2009, when the boardwalks were built to 2026 soon, those pre-existing cribs have now reached the end of their lives. So that's the part that needs to be redone. So the boardwalk has to be ripped out, and we're going to go probably to a design build to see what's the most effective and cost effective measure to get the boardwalk replaced, if that's the option we want to go with. But the numbers we've got right now is a complete rebuild. So you're talking new boardwalk from the boat launch all the way beyond the gas pumps. Removing the old cribbing, putting sheet piling, and then building a new deck. So it's extensive work that needs to be done. And while we're in the construction phase, we've had some erosion issues with the road, and we need to address that as well. So that's the scope of the project. But as far as technical information, where the bedrock is, I don't have that specific information for you, Councillor, but I can maybe look and see if it's in the engineering report.
You say pile driver, that's what they would go instead of the cribbing?
Correct.
Yeah, I can't get over the price. That's what I was thinking, pile driver and then just the supports and then.
But again, that not to cut you off, councillors, but again, that is one design we have, one concept. It's been suggested to us if we do tender the project, that we go design build to allow contractors to come in with their proper design and cost to get the work done. So there's multiple ways that can be done. So we do tender out, it'll be most likely a design build format to allow the contractors to come in and give us their best design tied to their best price.
In the future, can we get an estimate of, not an estimate, the price? Are we making money with that price?
Oh, gosh, no.
Oh, my.
Are you making money on that?
No.
I know that, but I'd like to know the numbers.
What it costing us?
You may have done one of those before on Minnehaha.
We've done it a few times. It's been a few years, but absolutely, you know, the same as we talked with our community centers is, you know, we can update those values and bring back some historical on what we are actually recovering from the site. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Mayor, thank you. It is the plan to really have a good review in the coming months of all of our municipal assets to see exactly what the cost benefit is, usage, the whole bit, just to get a really good review of exactly where we sit with respect to our assets and how we should be prioritizing maybe repair, how we should be prioritizing other things. So it is our plan to get that underway for especially some of the larger assets that we have to really be able to come back to council and really inform you from a perspective of, okay, can we get some additional direction, or, how are we going to be dealing with these assets in future?
Thank you, because I said, not all the time, but a lot of the times I get feedback from the people about Minya Bay, the business in town, that like they say, we subsidize the business that's down there in a way. It's true. I remember Mr. Babu telling us, well, we're not in the business of competing in another business. Well, we are right there. The slips, same thing. We're cheaper than the rest of the private people. That's why I'd like to know exactly what the numbers are on that place. And I know we can't just
We are
disappear.
gonna be working on that, like, it's already conversations that Mr. Pinal and I have had, and we've toured some of the facilities, and then we will be touring others.
I know it's a nice place and all this, but what cost?
So we will have that full conversation outside of like the budget context, and something we'll look at for sure.
Mary, it would be nice to have those discussion before we finalize the budget, because
It would be, but there's a lot of work involved in putting that information together. So, and as we're all aware, we're transitioning. So we're, there's a lot of things going on right now, and we still want to get the budget done so that we can get especially our public works and facilities tenders out, because we have learned in the past that getting those out early, passing a budget in December or January has a lot of financial benefits over doing it in March or April or May. So I think that we just need a little bit of patience to put those pieces together.
if I may ask,
Mhm.
what would happen in this situation? Like the war. Let's say we vote yes, we do it, and then it comes to us and say, no, it's not worth it. Like.
Mm.
We're
Well, we
putting.
have that
more
option. I
money.
mean, we're putting it at budget.
Mhm.
But, when it comes to time to put out the RFQ and the prices come back, and that is, I mean, even this particular project. Yeah, it's almost painful because it's an extraordinary amount of money to put into something, and quite frankly, it will look no different likely than what it looks right now. So we're gonna spend $4.5 million to fix something, and at the end, it's not like we have something shiny brand new to say, hey, look what we did. It literally will look the same. And we're fixing a problem that can't be seen, and that it kind of
That's hard.
that it hurts a lot. But at the end of the day, this council does have the authority to say, no, we're not going to replace the wharf. We're going to tear it out, and there'll be a road there, and there won't be a boardwalk. That's basically, that's on this particular project, that's pretty much the choice. The work is the work because of the nature of the work being underwater, and having to support weight and this and that. It's expensive work to do. But that is going to be the choice at the end of the day. Do we want a boardwalk? Do we not want a boardwalk? Is a boardwalk worth $4.5 million? That's the question. In improving it in budget, we're moving forward, we're allowing staff to get the information, but when it comes back, council absolutely, has the authority to say, no, we don't think that is the best way to spend $4.5 million. Councillor Fennell.
Just a question, if I may, Madam Mayor, if we don't have the board, does it mean that we can't have the floating docks? Or can the floating docks still be there, but just be accessed from the road? Yeah.
Through you, man, I would have to have that confirmed by engineers to see what they would have fixed to if the boardwalk wouldn't be there, because there's a whole support system. But that's a question we can certainly get answered.
That, for me, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, that arena, I think, is really more important to
Mhm.
than the boardwalk,
Yeah.
you know. But if we don't have a boardwalk, and it means that there's no floating docks, you might as well just close it's left.
Mhm.
Weeks.
Absolutely.
And the
Hey, Councillor Restal?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was thinking the same thing, just trying to visualize things. I don't see how you could still have all of the docks, all of the access to it with just the roadway in place. I mean, people have to go and, you know, if they're going to their cottage or whatever it is, they need place to access the docks. And if there's just the roadway like it is, it would probably be a safety hazard to have people walking or parking or, you know, unloading things there. But just to the comment about, you know, 4.5 million, we don't see it. It's investment in infrastructure. It's also investment in a whole bunch of different things as well. Tourism, access to the lake, access to the river, you know, benefit of quality of life for people who enjoy that. So it's not just fixing something we can't see. There's a whole bunch of ripple impacts all across, and it's supporting previous investment as well into the whole facility. So I know we're going to have more discussion on it, but I just wanted to note that, and I think we're all aware of it. It's not just simply we're going to fix something we can't see and that's it. You're continuing something within the community, and you know I'm going to go way out in left field, but we talk about what it generates and how much it costs. We have two arenas that we don't make money on either. So if we take the same approach and say, well, it's costing us a lot of money, let's just close them. Probably not, right? Because of the benefit that community members get from the arenas as they are. So just to keep that in mind, I know we are a long way from deciding, but just not to say it's losing money so we can't do it, because there's other things that we do in the community that we don't profit from as a municipality, but we still do it for the betterment of the community.
Thank you, Councillor Restal. And you know, it's a good point. In community services, none of our facilities, you know, make the money to offset their costs. They are not cost neutral. That is one of the services that we provide as a municipality, and that sense of community and places to meet, whether it's community centers, whether it's a boardwalk at the waterfront. Those are an important part of the work that we do. And you can't assign a dollar value to sitting outside on a picnic table at water, you know, and so you know, I absolutely agree that without the boardwalk and without the boat launch, you know, you'd be taking away a lot from residents who enjoy that space. Nevertheless, it is, you know, it's a lot of money for something you don't see, kind of thing. So, Councillor Gagne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the Vernon Municipal Building, Vern might not like me on this comment, but at 2.8, surprised couldn't we tear it down and build a new building just to accommodate the square footage that we actually need for the tenants that are currently there?
So through you, Madam Mayor, we have 5 options to present the council on that with costing for each. Whether we tear that one down, build on site, or sell the property and build an addition to our arena to house what we need for our services. We have 5 options to present the council.
Okay. Thank you very much. Follow-up question, Madam Mayor?
Yeah, of course.
On the facility, if we do decide to move forward with these projects, do we need to borrow $8.7 million? Or
No.
or just the 2.1?
No, so the 8.7 is the total. There's a potential of 2.1, it's actually 2.6, because we have applied for NHFC on Goulart as well, so there's a potential of 2.6 in funding that's available. And then I put it in that we were financing this over $5 million. There is a little bit of room sort of with reserves, so that they have not completely depleted their reserves. So, you know, it can be a balancing of a little bit more from reserves and a little bit less from financing, because financing is tough in that, you know, it's really hard to find small financing. Certainly when we're up in the $4 million, we go for Infrastructure Ontario, it's easier to get financing. But whatever we finance then commits a portion of their budget for the next 20 years to pay for the financing. So I put it in, like I said, I put it in as a kind of as a placeholder, assuming we were doing all this $5.3 million of financing, and any difference that we don't get then coming from the reserve. But once we've got our project list established and you know, sorted out that Vernon Municipal Building and things like that, I would fine tune those numbers for council, the combination between reserve and financing that makes sense.
How many other financing projects are we still paying off currently?
So it's actually in your operating workbook.
That question.
Yes.
Nobody else has any questions on facilities,
Sure.
and then if you write that one down, because we're
Yep.
gonna go back to the.
Yep.
Overall, but right after we finish this page, is that okay? Can I slip on you?
Yes,
Just to
Madam
keep
Mayor.
everything on track.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Somewhere in.
Councillor Rivard.
So I was just wondering, the one question would be an approximate lifespan of this Austin wharf that we'll all see and get to enjoy. What would that be?
Have to go back through the engineering report, but
It-
if my memory serves me right, it's 30 or 40.
Thank you. And then the other aspect was if we're not successful in that funding, so then the financing increases another 2.5 million, I guess. And we'd be ready for that.
Yeah, so like, again, if we're not successful in the funding application for that, and the tenders still come in at that full amount, you know, again, until we get those design build quotes and things like that, we might end up with, and then we would take a look at, okay, again, we've got a little bit of reserve. If we would bring it back to council, as Madam Mayor said, and going, it becomes a really different discussion again. You know, do we want to increase from $5.3 million of financing to 6 or 7, and what does that mean for all the rest of the next 20 years? So absolutely, if we're not successful in the funding application and we get design build numbers that are at this level, we're going to come back and have this discussion, because it is that's the time to say, what do we really need to do right now?
Okay, so based on that, I'll keep my pitch for why it's a great investment for the municipality when we get to that stage, whether we need an extra 2 million or not. But one suggestion would be, in the meantime, not now because it's that time of the year, but actually even in the winter, you'll see there's a lot of activity there. There's a lot of snowshoeing, canoeing, and then ice fishing even. People walk over from town. But during the summer, it's insane how busy that place is. It's really like the place to be to enjoy being outside in the community, right? We don't really have an area. I know people from Bracebridge who call me and they're like, hey, I'm actually driving to Sudbury, drop off my kid. See, where do I go? And I say, oh, we got this cute little spot. Then they'll call me back and just say how it's like their place to stop now, right? Like they don't necessarily get food there, but they'll go eat. They just love the spot. So I remember what it looked like when I was in high school, or just a place where you hung around to cause trouble, right? So now it's an investment. It's, yeah. Stop it.
Any other questions on facilities? Okay, so we're gonna move back to the beginning.
Yeah, go back to the beginning, sure. To go back to the operating book, starting on page 16. Is that the beginning we meant, Madam Mayor? Yep. For that, there are some pretty graphs and things like that. So summary of all categories, and this is just the roll up of those operating, so you can see all the departments in one shot, sort of by categories. And then the next section, we'll come back, is that summary of revenue and expenses, and that does it department by department. That's the difference between the two pieces. And again, we've got our projections there. So, we talked the taxation, the taking that SUPs and omits that have already been recognized this year, that OMPF, and then overall the other revenues declining, and some of that is tied to other grants, some of it's tied to sort of facility revenue and things like that. We went through the departments. Overall HR costs, and that's wages, benefits, training, the three pieces there, increasing by $380,000 over prior. Operating expenses, which is, and all other things, increasing by $332,000. The overall policing budget increasing by 136, and social programs, that's our DSAP health unit, Au Chateau, with an estimated, based again on those assumptions, increasing by 264. In the boards, that big difference again is still the library. So when we look at change in expenditures, it's a $1.2 million change in expenditures that we are sort of as a starting point, versus a $1 million increase in revenue at the starting point there. And then past that point, a lot of this is that in and out that happens with capital. The part that impacts the tax levy is that transfer to reserve line. So an increase of $547,000 transfer to reserve. That is split between infrastructure and the fire department, both in their fleet and their equipment. And then how the capital happens versus the financing and the funding and the transfers coming back in from reserve, that portion all nets to zero. So overall, the number that we're looking for right now is $680,000, almost $681,000. That is a shortfall right now, based on the numbers that have been presented to you. As I mentioned yesterday, there is absolutely going to be some savings in insurance, so that number will be adjusted to what we know is coming from insurance. Or council has the ability to take that money that was saved there and allocate it to a different project or a different line. And then like the summaries of revenue and expenses, all the same information except broken down by department.
And page 21, then our general reserve.
Yeah, so this is again just sort of a projected position at the end of the year. So the opening balance, that's where we finished last year. In the current year, in the budget, there was $1 million that came from general reserve to the operating budget as part of a sort of a tax stabilization. So we will finish the year with $4.4 million. Right now, I'm estimating a $2.5 million surplus. That will bring that ending balance at the end of 2026 projected to be just over $7 million. At the end of 2025. In the 2026 budget, we've maintained that $1 million transfer from reserve to the operating budget at that same level. And so, you would look at that sort of $6 million that's remaining uncommitted in the general reserve. And I know that we have this question every year, what is the magic number? There isn't really a magic number. So the province will sort of provide some standards that if you're in the range of, 10 to 20% of own source revenue, some municipalities maintain much higher reserves, some do much lower. What you really want in the reserve is, I always used to use the Champlain Bridge. If the Champlain Bridge blows up, can we deal with it kind of thing? And a combination of financing and our own source and that. So the general reserve is that piece that is there to assist you in emergencies or special projects or things like that. And the magic number is a lot on your comfort level. I'm an accountant. If you start running down into $2 million when we've got $21 million in tax, I'm going to start twitching a whole lot. I don't need to see this municipality maintain $40,000 in general reserve or $40 million in general reserve or anything like that. So you're not at a bad place with this scenario. And you do have to be, aware that the $2.5 million surplus means that we've actually taken some money from taxpayers. It's not a terrible thing to have that $1 million go back into your current year budget.
Can you speak to us a little bit about how the general reserve rate relates to the individual department reserves? Because so this is our general reserve, but then we still have monies that is specifically allocated towards departments for expected ongoing future costs.
And that's at the very end of things. So the dedicated reserves that the departments, so dedicated reserves were ones that were set up for, like you said, for the departments and for specific components within the departments. And that's how we deal with our capital. Page 51. At the back of the operating section.
Back of the operating. Okay.
Back of the operating.
Madam Mayor, before we move, I have a few questions on the general reserve.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Is that okay? Please.
Councilor Gagne. That's all right.
This product, just for currently or ending balance for 2025, we're projecting to have 7 million in our reserves.
Yeah.
And you would like to at least move 1 million to the 2026 reserve?
So then out of that, in your operating budget, there's $1 million that comes from general reserve to your operating budget in the 2026. So yes, it would go from if we have $7 million at the end of the year, you're going to have $6 million. It'll reduce to $6 million.
Okay, and that's $6 million. If we want to do $3 million in project, we can actually go into that reserve and say, we want to use 3 million to do whatever.
You can, absolutely. So, and that's where the discussion about dedicated reserves. So there is money in dedicated reserves for, projects and things like that, but absolutely can general reserve for a special something that you've got planned. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. No more
You're
questions.
welcome. When I'll ask one on the general reserve as well. When we started this term, I'll remember that the previous council did a 0% increase, and we actually had to use 1.4 million when we first started, from reserve into operating to smooth out that zero, so we didn't have to go to a 10% increase.
Yeah,
whatever. And when we began our term, we had spoken about diminishing our reliance on reserves to fund operations. And I think the next year we went from 1.4 to 1.2, and the year after that we went from 1.2 to 1, which is where we are now. And I don't know whether one's okay. From what you're saying, is there a point to getting to a smaller number as far as the reliance on reserve for operations?
I'm going to tell you both sides.
Okay.
So absolutely, if we're relying on reserves of a $1 million transfer into your operating to kind of control what the tax increase is, then if you have a year where the operating actually comes in as a deficit, or you have very small surpluses, or we run into other issues, and suddenly you go, oh, I don't have that $1 million to put in the next year. Then it's a huge gap for relying on that reserve transfer. It's not necessarily a sustainable thing all the time. Now, historically, we have come back at the end of the year with moderate surpluses, up and down. We have had surpluses less than $1 million, absolutely. And I know that sounds like a big number, but if you're looking at $50 million total, then it's not as big a percentage of things. But absolutely, there is some risk from having that. But it's always that balancing. If we've got 2.5, are we okay putting 1 million in? But then once you put it in, it is hard to take it back out. So it's again, there's not a black and white answer to that, Madam Mayor, but yes, there's absolutely risk on using transfers from reserve to stabilize taxes.
And so if during our deliberations, because I know that there are still some things we may want to tweak in this budget. We just had the review. We're able to liberate money from other sources. One of the options would be to reduce the draw from the reserves
Absolutely.
to operating, including that the 300, well, not the whole, but you're expecting cost savings on the insurance. So that's another option as far as how we want to manage going forward, because that was one thing we identified at the beginning, is we didn't want to kind of bring down that reliance on the reserves for operating budget, right?
Absolutely.
Other questions on the general reserve or on the overview that's just been provided, the two summary pages that we're looking at? Councillor Larrabee first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our starting point is what, 5%?
3, just over 3.
3?
We're at 3.
3.
Okay, and 220 is 1%.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pellerin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just after the end, if you, what's the high number and the low number, let's take the last 10, 20 years. But then
The general reserve?
General Reserve?
Yeah.
Oh, we were running just over $1 million when I started. And we've probably been up in this ballpark before, sort of probably in the 5 or 6 million, sort of that's the highest that I've seen it. But yeah, we were only just over $1 million when I started.
So we never not went higher than we got
No.
right now.
No.
And what about the dedicated reserve?
Dedicated reserves are up and down. Certainly the dedicated reserves have increased in my time here because they're prior. So it wasn't long before I came that the municipality actually started putting money into dedicated reserves, and not all the departments had dedicated reserves. So absolutely that has grown and changed over the last 15 years. You have to remember that back in 2010 was the year that municipalities were actually forced into a position. It was the right decision. They were forced into a position to actually account for their assets as assets, which then started this whole train of how are we actually doing replacement. Prior to that time, it was just, if we need $500,000, we're going to go find $500,000 from somewhere. So it is a really recent thing in municipal history to have that kind of thing. The dedicated reserves absolutely have grown over that period.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Oh, Councillor Bonnie?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The 1 million is for 2026. Is that going in operation or capital?
Operating, coming out of general reserve to operating.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Fedai?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So where are the dedicated reserves?
It's second one. 51.
Second one.
And and so the million, the transfer, that's not accounted for in the operating budget yet. So
It is.
It is already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of these, sorry, when you look at the dedicated reserve page. Evansville Playground.
So that is a little,
2 words.
that is a little wee bit that has been around since time immemorial. And so the community had done some fundraising and for playground equipment. And then the municipality was holding it. We hold it in a little investment account. And it was a number of years ago, because I believe Councillor Bastool, you would have been on council.
I was not on council in time immemorial.
Not entirely. No, the last time we talked about the reserve, the last time I talked about the reserve. And so it is just a little bit that the community had done. I understand they did, spaghetti dinners, a lot of fundraising in order to raise this portion for, that was held for that playground. And it does earn just a little bit of, it's in GIC, so it rolls over and earns just a little bit of interest each year. And it was, I didn't mean time immemorial. I believe, it may have been not last term, but the time before. We did bring it back to council just to evaluate whether council wanted to maintain it in that reserve, or I believe the council at the time was looking at various playgrounds and things like that. And they decided that they were just going to keep it as the Evansville Reserve at that time. And then, yeah, just a little bit of money that they raised.
Is there a parkland dedication somewhere where this playground equipment was envisioned to live?
know that there was. I don't know that there was, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at it for like ease of accounting practices,
Mhm.
right? Mhm.
It's just a,
Parks from planning. Like, is there a reason that those types of reserves, like if there is no demand for a park in Evansville, is there? Has anybody else heard? I've never even,
For my time.
and like the parks from planning, so that's the parkland reserves that are done on a plans of subdivision. How come they're just not moved into, say, community services?
They
or
should be,
something?
they have to be held. They're only allowed to be used for development of parks or recreational. They have to be held in a dedicated reserve.
So you could take that $68,000 and use it for Goulart Park?
Conceivably, yeah.
Arguably, like you could, like,
Yep.
instead of that money just sitting in a separate reserve? Just saying.
Yep.
Or, well, you got your basketball court for, you don't need that anymore, but that, okay. Sorry.
Actually, Madam Mayor, there's still stuff needed, yeah. No barricades.
Dollars in.
Your boss.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of possibility.
Is there a playground
Right there.
in Evansville?
No. It was money they were raising to build a playground, but this is like,
So is there a way to contact the people there, whatever, if they raised it, it's their money. I don't know who you'd contact, but,
It's actually our money.
no, but
look at
look at the content. But they raised it, right?
They did, yes.
So it'd be nice to check with somebody if there's still an appetite for something like this, I don't know. When it's not my money, it's.
I know individuals who weren't quite there at time immemorial, but they lived for quite a while. I could ask. Yeah.
they might not, most people might. It's there.
Come back and then see what some of the old previous thoughts were.
Okay, and there was one. Oh, I was gonna ask earlier when we did the drains budget. Municipal drains
Mhm.
budget. We have a whole bunch of money in that dedicated reserve.
Yeah.
And what we've learned this year is that if there was an application for a new drain to go in where we might be on the hook for $63,000, we'd probably have 6 or 7 years notice to put the money away. Most of you. Just wondering whether we need a full $170,000 in the municipal drains dedicated reserve, because if one were to come forward, we'd have some notice. It wouldn't be like, hey, we need you to pay $70,000 tomorrow. We'd probably have at least 2 or 3 years. Probably for the full process from petition to 3 years. So, you know,
Yeah, and so we actually did, we done a couple years where we would give $1,000 contributions into the reserve, and then last year sort of slow it down, kind of recognizing that we sort of reached a place that we were more comfortable in having that reserve. It does act for construction and it does act for if we have a high maintenance year, but you're correct. Do we need to continue to put $50,000 in, or can that number be scaled back a lot? Keeping in mind again that, you know, what we had a number of drains, but I believe that Mr. Sharp has indicated that we're not expecting a lot more construction, you know, that compared to what we.
One big,
Yeah.
one big one that will have a heavy municipal assessment. Right now.
the one that, oh, not this one,
No,
one more.
No, one more.
Councilor Keller.
Thank you, Mary. On the municipal drain, we're gonna have some hefty bills coming in I think.
Just one, well, two.
Well, Piquet Pellerin grain is due. We just got it in the mail.
Well, that's maintenance. Those are maintenance invoices.
It doesn't,
It's not this. This is construction money.
This is for new drink.
New drain.
Other questions or comments on either the high?
Thanks. The reserve for the drains, couldn't that be used for correcting some mistakes on where drains were aligned across properties?
We wouldn't pay for that.
Right?
We would not pay for that.
But the
The
municipality.
municipality wouldn't be on,
No.
no, they didn't. It was designed by,
It was designed by the
We
engineer.
only pay for the portions that affect our roads, or any of our assets, the whole Drainage Act. Like whatever was approved and installed was done under provincial legislation, under the approval and the municipality has no responsibility or liability if people don't like where the drains run.
When we, just to clarify, when they came and made a presentation here the other day.
Yeah.
About the drain, they said now we go along the property lines.
Yeah, but the petitioners are paying for that.
Yes, but I could show you where the petitioners paid for those. And there's 3 drains zigzagging on the property. On the farm.
Those were built.
Yes, yeah.
In order to move a drain that is already built, you have to have a new petition for an improvement by the landowner. It's not a municipal initiative to realign municipal drains. It would have to come forth from a landowner as a petition.
Okay, to move them to the side.
Councilor Rivard.
Just the land disposition. Silly, oh, sorry, Counselor Gagne, go what, take it away. No. I was just wondering, I know I had mentioned that, we can hopefully have discussion. I don't know if that would be at the next budget meeting
I think so.
or whatnot, yeah, for like potential special projects or something that's already within here. Or to lower levy increase or do whatnot, but there is 800, I know that's not my way. I know some people may think differently. So $876,000 of land is disposed of, like it obviously doesn't have to be depleted completely because it could come in useful in the future, but I would like to have a discussion.
I think that there's a few counselors around the table that would like to have that discussion on how we could use some of that money. We'd like to have that as part of budget so that it is part of a plan for next year. So when we do our next meeting, what I would ask for counselors is if there are specific things. I know that you've all had your meetings with our CAO now, except. Yes, I understand. So, if there are things that you brought up and I know a few that I can think of around the table, but I'll let you speak for yourselves. I have my own little list. But yes, Madam Craddock.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt but while you're looking at reserves that kind of have special project written all over them, I am going to bring your attention to the IPM reserve there. That was the funds that were returned from the IPM committee to the municipality. There's $101,000 there. And it is council's decision how you spend that money. They were hoping that it would be used for a legacy type project within the community or something that benefits the community. So just while you're making your special list there, just keep that fund around your mind as well.
Councilor Pillay. I'm gonna split you two up.
Just speaking about this. It was supposed to be a barbecue or something for all the volunteers. We talked about it way back and never happened.
So COVID happened.
No, the one that was supposed to be for this year.
Oh, sorry, there was an IPM one. By the time we got our COVID, we're there for, sorry,
Oh, for the IPM bond?
Right,
Yeah, COVID happened.
Okay, we talked about it
That was supposed to be just a general volunteer appreciation, not necessarily an IPM volunteer appreciation.
Okay, because at that time, he was saying that he would get party for all the volunteers.
Yes.
I believe that was supported by council and I think it's been addressed in some of the one-on-ones and I'm hopeful.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Once in a while, people ask me about,
Yeah,
where's that money and where's,
all of the IPM money.
yeah. So it's there.
It's
Yeah.
a dedicated reserve.
Okay,
It's in
yeah.
a dedicated reserve, waiting for the right price.
So I know that and I don't know about the party, so.
But if I can, under community services, community projects, we have set aside an amount
Okay.
for a volunteer appreciation event this year.
Okay.
This year?
Yes. Well, in 2020. You knew what I meant.
I'm not drinking greenies in this weather.
Okay, we've got a half hour left in our meeting. I don't know if anybody wants to start. I'm very comfortable at a 3.0. I think, is that what it is? 3.0?
Yep.
Why not? And I think when you look comparatively, what other municipalities are doing and facing, I think staff have done a good job. I think we all wish we had more money to spend on more projects and more roads and all that kind of stuff, but it is a budget that serves the needs of the community. I think that there are some tweaks that could be made that could get a little bit of money shuffled here and there, in order to address some projects, but I don't know where, from where we are as an increase. I myself am comfortable and I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think that there are a few tweaks that could be made, maybe look at the reserves and see if we can knock off a couple of these other, projects. So I'm just starting so that opens the floor for other people to put up their hands and let us know how they say. Councillor C.
Well, and I'll go first because I usually always do. And people know. To me, first and foremost, I was stunned when I saw the 3.06. I was amazed by it and very impressed. So kudos to all the managers and the directors. It was very impressive. However, I always like to see it lower. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard much about, where's our barbecue and where's the volunteer. What I have heard over the past couple weeks and months about the budget is people are enough of always going up, taxes going up, taxes going, blah, 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 right? I don't expect the zero. I would never expect the zero. I don't even expect a 2. I would probably not even the 2.5. I personally, if we can see it below the 3 somehow, some way, and it's only 0.06, right? I'm sure, like I wrote stuff down where we can pick away 50,000 here or 60,000 there or 75,000 here. Then I think we definitely get below the 3. And I personally think our residents deserve that. And the fact that, when we first came in, I think we're at 5 point something and we keep creeping down. And I think the fact that our reserve, that we're putting more in our reserve, because our reserve was, I think, at 4 million when we started, and now we're up to 7 million. Yes, it's going to be 6 when we start, but actually we're up at 7, shows that we've done great over the past few years at what we're doing. And even by lowering the tax from whether it started, I think the 1 year at 8 or 9%, and we ended up at 5 and so on and so forth. So I think we're able to get below 2. The only thing also I would say, we're putting in 1 million, and I think that 1 million should stay there. The fact that we have 10,400,000 in dedicated reserves, any other little project that we want to play with, I think that's where we should take the money from and not leave that million so that the taxpayers increase is lower than taking away that. So that's my 2 cents. If we can get it below 3.06, I think our residents would be very happy. Well, sorry, most of the residents, I know some will not because some are tired of the raises, but it's inevitable, it's normal. Especially with the cost of everything. And I mean, it was on the news today, even the cost of groceries are going up by, I think it's 14% over the next year. So I understand that, but if, even to add to that, if they're gonna pay more in taxes, they're gonna pay more in gas, they're gonna pay more in this, right? Or not taxes, I'm sorry, in groceries. Then if we're able to help our residents by lowering it a bit, I think it would be a fantastic thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rivera.
Are we only speaking about the proposed levy increase? Can we speak
Right
about-
now, but I mean, I'd like to see where we can trim some stuff.
Okay, yeah, because that's kind of what I was thinking instead, but me, like the idea of if you're at 2.7 or 3.5, the idea is what are we getting? It's not what the number is. We gotta stop that mentality of, oh, I see this 3% hike, but it's like, okay, well, the only reason we're at this nice cushion now is because we've had these nice, well-developed budgets which are more sustainable. So then we've been able to build up our reserves, right, in a way. So there's always that to look at, or these projects, we're looking at some of these projects where we're saying already, we can't afford Apple. So then if we start saying, well, then we're just gonna keep dwindling away, we're just pushing the problem further down. So I'm not exactly sure where I feel comfortable. I do like the 3.06, obviously you don't want to come in every year at 5-6%. It's just, it's a tough one to explain to people, but I like seeing what you're getting more than just the idea of, oh, the number sounds good. So I like that. But when I'm looking at some things, like one thing that really bothered me in the budget, which I brought it up last year to try and bring it down, was that so last year there was a proposed $120,000 budget increase in training, I believe, or it was only 100,000 budget increase, which is 0.5%, right? So then, and then when I'm looking at this year's budget and last year or this year's projections for end of year, we're $75,000 short of what was budgeted. And we actually raised, so I remember we brought down 20,000, so we ended up only increasing the training budget by 80,000. But 75,000 wasn't even spent. So, you increase the budget, you increase taxes by 0.5%, but it wasn't even used in the way that it's supposed to be. Because, so training, there were a few that came up to mind here when I'm looking at the fire and service was about $25,000 short. You got the community services was about $20,000 short of what was budgeted. Others were 16, 10. These are like, so when we talk about us going to these conferences and hoping that we receive these large grants here from soon, that's what these trainings do for us as well. We go there, we get to learn about innovative practices, good council staff relationships, and new technologies out there. So I'm not sure if that's where we would lower our budget, but I really want to see if the budget is there for training. Our staff should be going up to these trainings. So like when I'm looking at community services, the amount of staff that would be there, and I think there's 13,000 spent on training. We budgeted 35. Why did we budget that extra? On the tax, right? Because then by sending someone there, you can get comms training, you can get innovative revenue generating ideas when we're talking about revenue issues. This is where you learn this stuff. So that was one large concern when I looked at this entire budget book and I did the math. It sounds like that $80,000, so 0.4% was kind of irrelevant. So I don't know if that's where you can slowly bring it down a bit, just to go to 50, so you're saving 30,000, and they still have a lot of money to try and increase the training, but there's no point in putting all the money if you can't use it.
I'm gonna speak first and then I'm gonna let Mr. speak on that topic alone. When we did the hiring for CAO, we were very focused on selecting somebody I like to call as a people-centered.
we have had significant conversations already about the value of STEM training, and it's something that I'll let Mike speak a little bit more to that, but you know, we up that budget because we do, as counselors, know the value of those training exercises, of conferences, of seminars and sessions. And it's something that we wanted to be able to support our staff because I think that there's true value to the organization in that. And I'll let Mike take it. Our students don't take it from there. But
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate the comments and thank you for that, for pointing that out. I can reassure council that I've already had and started discussions with the various directors that is a point of contention with me as well, Councillor Rivard, with respect to, we have I will say, a healthy budget for education, training, and those opportunities, and that we really haven't made good use of it. And a lot of that, I think, is people get busy, these things happen, and perhaps it's not a priority, but let me reassure you that it is one of my priorities. And I've indicated to the group that we need to be very intentional when it comes to picking and choosing, tapping people on the shoulder and really not accepting. I will say the old excuse of, yeah, I'm too busy, I can't go to that. Is sorry, I've signed you up for this training. I need you to kind of to assist, you know, the organization in gaining this particular expertise, or, you know, this is further development for you in your current role, succession management, the entire gambit of really making a good training and education budget. So you have my reassurances that in 2026 that will change, that we are looking to be very intentional on that piece right across the board, whether it's training for council, whether it's you know, training for members of public works in operating equipment, innovative new techniques, whether it's an investment in somebody going to some training to educate ourselves on the use of technology, whether it's different tools, as you say, with respect to enhancing our capacity to write grants and to apply for funding and applications and those types of things. So again, from that perspective, I appreciate your comments on that piece. I see historically we just have not met our expectation on that budget item, but it's my intention, certainly, and the intention of the group, and we're all in collaboration on this, and have that understanding that that's where we want to be.
Just in follow-up, because I don't want to dismiss, because I noticed the same trend as well. What was the total training budget across all departments, and what was the total spent across all departments?
2025?
Yeah.
The training and conferences across all departments was 203,500 budgeted. And estimated year end, and I do realize that there was a community services conference that was probably not included in this, but right now the estimated year end is $108,000 spent.
So it's half a percent. That's just my point, is it's a great investment, and that's why we increased the budget, to invest in staff, which will then pay fruitful to the programs we deliver, everything we do in the community as a council, as being the program service. Also.
So, and you know, this is the start. So what I'd like to do with that, because I do want to take every request that comes through, because I think that we will all have identified areas within the budget that we think maybe could be massaged a little. So would you, if you'd like to recommend that we lower the total training budget, I would just look for a number from you by how much. And then I would hope that we would leave it to staff to determine which departments that trim came out of. But you know, if you said, you know, given that we didn't spend it, I'd like to recommend that we trim it by 30. Then I would put it for a vote, and then at least staff has some direction on where.
It's tough because I'm not sure if I actually want to trim it, because it's so useful.
Yeah.
I'm not using it, so that's why but I do believe we could trim it a little bit, since clearly it was difficult. So yeah, maybe, you know, last year if we increased 80, we're moving up to 30. You still give a good buffer compared to 2 years ago, there'd still be 15,000 more. but 30,000 when it starts, we're getting below the 3.
Councillor Restful?
I'm gonna come from a different perspective. And I say this because I'd like to give our new CEO an opportunity to things with staff. We've come from a place where we've had someone in that role for 25 years. There were practices in place within the workplace here, and that's okay. We have a new voice at the head of the administration, and I'd like to, at least for a year, give him the rules to be able to work with his staff and implement some of his vision in terms of increasing capacity within our staff and reassess, give Mr. Pilon a year to see what we can do and how he can do what he'd like to do, and then maybe reassess again, if I'm still sitting here next year when we're doing this budget, go from there.
Councillor Pellerin?
Yeah, I agree fully with the Councillor Resto. To come back to the numbers. I do agree with the Councillor saying numbers.
Well, can we, I just would like to deal with specifically, because we had a specific ask from Councillor Bard or a specific discussion on this point. So I just want to get resolution to that. Then I'll come back to you for your overall thoughts and if you have a specific area. Okay, just because I just want to try to.
Yeah, I don't mind. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't mind that the money's there.
Okay.
I was just more or less kind of pointing out.
Pointing
how
out,
it was,
okay. So
if it's council's wish.
Council okay with leaving the training budget as it is then, because it,
Yeah.
you're okay, yes?
No, for sure.
Councillor St. Louis?
So I'm okay with it. However, from what I've seen over the last 3 years, when we left it up to the CAO to find ways and his directors to trim that number, they're the experts to trim that number, right? So I don't want to say to our CAO, trim off training or trim off library or trim off here, trim. In my opinion, as I said earlier, they're the experts that they know where they could play with it a bit. If to get it below 2, or if they want to leave it at what it is, then so be it. But basically all I'm getting at is I'm okay with the training, yes. But I don't want to say, don't touch the training, because if they think that, yeah, they can take 20 grand off the training to get it lower or whatnot, whatever we decide, then so be it. That's all you understand what I'm saying? So I'm okay with the training portion, but I want to leave it up to our CEO and directors to make that determination of where they can trim if we decide to trim. Basically is what I'm getting.
I'll go to Councillor Pellerin then.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to come back. It's all about numbers, right? So people understand the numbers. That's the only way they can calculate their tax, whatever. So for sure, I'd like to see it below 3, like to see it between 2.5 and 3. And like we have a lot of revenue, a lot more revenues than let's say years ago, just by the building permits and the consent application. Like, I think we're lucky that we're booming a lot more than we were a few years back. So we're lucky that we have all that increased revenue. I think we should be, and it's probably not the place to, we should be more efficient. But that's to another day, maybe to talk about it. One question I have, like, to come back to the Eugene Bridge. Remember, we had put $2 million aside. It came up at 6.5 or whatever, say 640. So we had $1.5 million over budget. So that, I guess, went in the general reserve?
No.
No?
No, our capital projects, And with Eugene Bridge, it was actually gas tax. But in general, whether it's gas tax or whether it's just the dedicated reserves that fund our capital projects, if we've got projects that come in under budget or that get canceled, that money stays in reserve and is available for future projects. So that's what happened with the Eugene Road Bridge. So it was actually, I think, a 2020. We got the bid for 2024, so we knew what we were holding. So the money then got allocated to other projects, and then what doesn't get used stays in reserve and just builds. So it does not in the general reserves, but it stays in either the dedicated reserves, which are in your sheet there, or it belonged to gas tax, which is held separately as well. Yeah.
So I remember you saying about Leclerc Road. The bid came 160,000 over.
Yeah.
What we had budgeted. So that 160, you have taken that from the overpriced bridge on Eugene?
Not necessarily, but those projects were both gas tax, but exactly like that, yes. So we have a project that's coming in under budget, so the money stays in reserve. We've got another one that comes in over budget, which means we've got the money sitting here in reserve that can fund the other project, yes.
Would you use that money for other project? Small and large, let's say is a $20,000-$30,000 project that we would not know about.
No.
Would not come back to the state yet.
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Resto.
If we're talking through, Mayor, if we're talking, if I'm talking about what I'd like to see, I again, appreciate seeing such a low starting point compared to previous years when we were around the table. I also listened to your comments, Madam Mayor, and our reliance on the reserve for funding current year operations. And I think we've done a good job of moving from generally 1.4, 1.2, 1. I'd like to see with work done, because we have these numbers in front of us. I'd like to see if we can continue down that path a little bit. It's, I guess in an ideal world, you have zero, right? And your reserves are there for other things. But I think we're starting in a very good place. And if we can rely on staff to provide some areas, if we want to give some recommendations, that's fine too. But I think if we can look at chipping a little bit more, I don't know if we go to 8 to keep going with the 200,000 per year in lowering the dependence on that. I'd like to see that as something in terms of us continuing to be successful and relying less from the place we came from 3 budgets ago. Would be I'd like to see that for whatever amount we can, just move that down a little bit. I certainly think that the areas where we could trim a little bit or suggest to other organizations, and the one thing that really jumps out at me is the increase to the library budget, where if it's not 20%, it's over 20% of last year's budget, and that's a pretty significant year over year. So if there's an ability there to find some savings, and then there's other areas as well. We all have ideas around the table, but I'd like to see that. It's setting us up for better success.
I think that likely given the savings from the insurance, we can probably with that alone, we could get under 3 and we could reduce the reliance on reserve. And I think that with a couple of other tweaks, my thing is we know that we know what the deferred list of projects is a long project just on our roads deferred list. So that's where I look at, okay, so how low do you go, or how much do you try to do? Because we know that in every aspect of this municipality, we are behind. We have far more need than we have money available to fund those projects. So, like I also like chipping away on those things. We have, we have a good list from community services, but we know we have several facilities that need significant work on top of that. We have several smaller projects that would serve the community well. I mean, we've heard ideas about the trails at Minnehaha Bay. We've heard, like there's there's a myriad of things that we could spend money on. So, I like to try to find the balance between, it's one thing to try to get to a number. But we've got a very, very long wish list. So I'd like to see kind of a balance where we address, we kind of try to knock a couple more, even small projects, even getting, half of the Avenue du Lac looked at this year as far as trying to improve the conditions and spread that out over 2 years. Avenue du Lac is not on our capital projects right now. Is that something that we can do? So, the savings on insurance will give us a little bit of room, and I think that there's probably a couple. I agree with you on the library, and it's absolutely up to the library's board to determine what their budget is. But the ask from the municipality as far as what we fund should be within a reasonable limit of an increase. If our tax increase is 3%, should it be 3%? Maybe their needs are a little heavier. Maybe it should be 6 or 7 or 8, but 22 or 23%. It's a lot for 1 year. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. I could elaborate on that, but I don't know if we have enough time to go as far back as I need to. So could I propose the library board discussion to be at their next meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councillor Becca.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to throw in, if I could call it the elephant in the room, then the bridge, if we didn't discuss, we need to discuss this.
That would be right after the library discussion. Our next meeting. Because we don't have time to start the discussion. We are actually 2 minutes away from the adjournment of the meeting. I did ask you to look at your availability for next week. And I think Monday, Tuesday's fine. I think Monday. For me, Monday is the only day that work next week, and then we would be into the following week, 15th, 16th, 17th. Unless you guys want to put Friday, 12, that could be fun.
I can't do.
You can't do Monday.
Monday and Thursday.
I did say Thursday, but I just realized Thursday's the Chateau Supper. My mom. Okay. Yeah.
You're not looking for a big supper there.
And we have planning at this stuff. Tuesday's planning adjustment. So Monday, Councillor Rivard, you're not available.
And we do Wednesday?
No, Wednesday's the senior supper.
Oh,
You can come Wednesday. You can just set up a table in the back. Week after, week of the 15th, Monday the 15th.
I think that whole week for me, I know it's just the Wednesday when I have the board meetings together.
Staff's perspective, Monday the 15th.
No issue.
That works. Okay, Monday the 15th, 6 o'clock. And hopefully we'll get far enough through that all works. The process from there. I'm going to see with one more minute, I'm feeling that we can wrap this up. The final staff budget presentation would come maybe on that Tuesday if there's not a whole lot of changes, and that would just be to show you what's there. Then it has to go back and be called the mayor's budget. Then it'll come back at the first meeting of January for approval, but it will look exactly like, whatever council agrees on next Monday. Yes.
Just correct me if I'm wrong, even staff, did we not last year, even though we had agreed
Mhm.
but couldn't approve it till January, but we agreed so that we can get tenders out and stuff like that.
I think we did a conditional agreement,
Yeah.
like a kind of provisional agreement.
The only
on it.
reason I say that, and I
We
don't know,
promised
maybe
we
there's
would
nothing
change the
pressing
budget, so
for,
we'll start getting.
for tenders or anything, but
You're not gonna be doing tenders before January first at this point, really, would you?
We've already started putting things together, but if we hit the ground running in January, we'll be okay.
Okay. Okay, so we'll look at that as well, and then there may be, as long as everybody's comfortable with what comes back as mayor's budget. We can look at doing the appropriate motions to shorten the veto periods and all this stuff that's in the legislation, but Mr. Pilon, Ms. Craddock and I will work on how to manipulate is the wrong word. How to massage, how to massage the process to make it work for like. So, yeah, with that, I'll take the motion to.
It's moved by Counselor Gagne and seconded by Counselor Restro. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-100 being a bylaw of the West Nipissing municipality to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on December the 4th, 2025, shall come into force and take effect on the date is passed.
All in favor? Carried.
It's moved by Counselor Abdul and seconded by Counselor Gagne. Be it resolved that the special meeting of council held on December the 4th, 2025, be adjourned.
All in favor? Carried.